Street photography is an observation of life. It teaches us to see, to pay attention, to be present. However, despite all of this, I feel that, at least for me, street photography has actually taught me a lot more than these basics that we would attribute to doing this. And in this video, I want to share them with you because these things have been great for my life outside of photography, and I think they might benefit you as well. The world is a reflection of you. Now, we all know that person who is always having a bad day. Someone was rude to them, someone bumped into them, the bus was late, the bus driver didn't smile, the waitress was a bit blunt, or there's always something that's worth complaining about or being unhappy with. Okay, now we also know a person who's the total opposite of that. They're always smiling, they're always positive, they're always looking at the kind of glass half full side of things when it comes to their life. And even though these two people can have the exact same set of circumstances, they can walk away with two very different experiences, because in my experience, the world is a reflection of me. And this is what street photography has really kind of shown me, that if everyone else around me is rude or unpleasant or just unhappy, it's probably me who's going through all of these emotions, and the world is reflecting that. Because if I am naturally rude and unpleasant and unhappy, then others will mirror that. Same with the good things, right? If I'm always smiling, if I'm always asking, oh, how are you doing? How's things? And you're always kind of exuberating positive energy, the world is going to mirror that back to you. And you'll find that people will generally be more pleasant and happier and more polite towards you, because in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, they're just mirroring back what they've received from you. And this has been a huge lesson for me, especially as you get older, that, the world is a mirror of you. A very quick story, I don't want to ramble too much, but a few years ago we went to Porto, and one evening we stopped at one of these pastel de nata places. And there was a waitress there, and she seemed a bit off in the sense that she was quite rude, she was irritated, wasn't very patient with people, just generally not having a good time. And the customer in front of me was equally as standoffish and equally as abrasive. And the whole interaction just wasn't very pleasant to watch. There wasn't like a shouting match, nothing bad happened. But you could tell there were just two people who really didn't want to be having a conversation with each other, right? We had our food, whatever, and people have left. And people left all their trays, all their rubbish on the table, even though it clearly asks for you to put it away, but whatever. So I picked up my tray, took it back to her, took it to the counter, and I said, oh, thank you very much. She just kind of took it, went, oh, okay, thank you. And I just said to her, are you having a good day? Is it, busy, whatever. So just started a small conversation, and it turned out that she was left completely alone. She was basically stitched up by a colleague. She's tired, she's stressed, she's got a kid at home. We ended up having this chat, and in the end, as we left, and we were the only ones to clear up after ourselves, she was waving, she was smiling, she was wishing us a good evening, she was wishing us a good trip. And her attitude towards us was very, very different compared to her attitude towards most other people there. And I feel a lot of that is just a mirror of us. We were very friendly, very polite, very patient to her. We gave all the time in the world, whereas other people didn't do that. They just expected it from her because it's her job, therefore she must be happy and smiley and whatever. So that was a very good kind of real life example that, Even if someone is having a really, really bad day, and for her that bad day was justified, her reaction was a mirror of our reaction towards her. So yeah. The second lesson is ignorance, not malice. We often attribute malice to what can be explained as ignorance. You're walking down the street and there's clearly enough space for you and the person coming towards you, but the person coming towards you bumps right into you, brushes their shoulder, and you're thinking, like, come on, what are you doing? You had all of that space on the sidewalk, on the pavement, whichever side of the pond you're from, and you've decided to just walk straight at me. And it's natural to assume that was a malicious act where I own the street, I can do what I want, I'm more important, so on and so forth. We've all had those types of interactions, or maybe you are taking a photo of your friend, you're standing somewhere outside, there's loads of space round the back of you, and someone just walks straight in between without a care in the world. That's also quite a relatable thing. And I think in today's world, it's quite natural to assume that it's malice, for the simple reason that, if you spend any time online, you might think that most people are very malicious, given all the comments and you know what I mean, right? But the more time I spend in the street, the more time I am people watching, and I see these interactions and scenarios all the time, you realize that in 90% of cases, it's actually ignorance and not malice. Now, ignorance has quite a negative kind of connotation towards it, but I don't mean it as in that person is ignorant, but I mean it in that person is just simply not paying attention. The person who bumped into you because they didn't use the rest of the pavement, they were deep in their podcast, they were thinking how that podcast applies to their own life, and they just weren't present in the real world, which is why they just didn't even probably see you there. And the person who walked through the frame as you were taking a photo of your wife or your husband or whatever, he was running late, he wasn't paying attention, he just saw a gap and he went for it. And maybe like 5-6 years ago, I used to kind of see it as malice, not ignorance. And I would get really worked up and really annoyed about it. I'm like, how is that person not aware that I'm there? Like how, and you'll get really kind of worked up over it. Whereas now, after doing street photography for so long, I actually realize it's all ignorance. It's not malice. People are just not present. With all the technology, with all the distractions, most of us are probably not present. And when you see the world in that way, you actually become a lot more forgiving and a lot more understanding of people's behaviors, which, okay, makes you a better person, but it's actually going to make your day much better, because now that if someone bumps past you, like, oh, whatever, not paying attention, who cares? You're not going to get worked up over these little things. So yeah, ignorance, not malice. In life, you make your own luck. Now, the word luck has been somewhat weaponized, I believe, where everyone just brands everyone else lucky. But in street photography, I honestly believe that luck plays a huge role in separating people with really amazing photos and people with really average photos. But luck, we look at luck in a way like you buy a lottery ticket, you win, you got lucky, right? But I've learned in street photography that you actually make your own luck, because if you take your top 10, let's say current street photographers, right? And you kind of look at their work, some of them will be head and shoulders above the others. And in some cases it's talent, like raw talent. In some cases it's opportunities. Some people just naturally live or travel to very photogenic destinations, and it doesn't matter how talented you are, but if you live in New York compared to living in Ipswich, chances are you'll get better shots in New York, right? But what I've learned is that the people who are at the top of their game, and I've had the privilege of knowing many and speaking to many of them, they make their own luck by always being out and always shooting and always chipping away and working. Whereas I also know talented photographers who don't make their own luck. They expect luck to just find them, which means they're not out there shooting, they're not working on their craft, they're not working away. There's no work ethic there outside of just talent. And they're not getting anywhere. In life and in street photography, you make your own luck. By being out there more and shooting more, you become kind of more magnetic to luck coming towards you. Because if you're at home, nothing's going to happen. If you're out there, also nothing could happen, but something could happen. Equally, if you become much better at using the camera, you learn your camera inside out, you can operate it blindfoldly, you're also going to get luckier, because now when you see a shot, rather than fumbling with your camera, you just autopilot, you know what to do. Same with the other skills that come into it. So yeah, street photography taught me that you need to get lucky and you need to have a lucky break, but you have a huge amount of influence over how much luck you attract. Patience and perseverance. Street photography is a marathon, and a very long and arduous marathon at that. And the biggest lesson, or I'd say top 3 biggest lessons, is that patience, perseverance, and your general kind of positive can-do attitude will take you so far. Because I've had months where I didn't get a single good shot. And then on the following month, I got 5 of my best photos. I've had days where I would go out, I'll do 40,000 steps, walking around London, trying different areas, trying different light. I'll come away empty-handed. I've had days where I would go into London and in the first 10 minutes get 3 of my favorite photos for that entire year. And every time I go out, if I let the empty days or the dry spells get to me, I'll never get to the good days and the good shots that come right after. And this kind of logic, in my opinion, also applies to life, because in life you also get your good days, your bad days. Good things happen, bad things happen. It's a given, right? But when these things are coming at you, if those things can impact your patience and your perseverance and your character, then the whole thing just collapses, right? So if you go out to shoot and 5 bad days in a row make you feel discouraged and make you feel negative, and you're like, oh, I'm so rubbish at this, I hate this, blah, 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 and you leave your camera at home and you just give up, right? Many people have done this. Then you're not going to achieve anything. Nothing will ever happen. But if you just carry on and you understand that the bad shots, the bad days, the dry spells, it's just a temporary phase. My longest dry spell was a year, around 2021. And my work from that period was horrific. Well, 2021, something like that. And I remember thinking to myself, well, this is just crap, like what am I doing here? But by pushing through, I managed to get some of my best work in 2023 and 24. So my advice on this one is stay patient, because patience is a must, and remain focused on the end goal, because the perseverance is what's going to get you through the bad shots and to the good ones. Concentration is a superpower. So with each decade or each passing of time, certain skills become very valuable, other skills fade away. So 5 years ago, being a coder is probably more profitable than being a carpenter. Whereas 100 years ago, it's probably the other way around. Coders don't think got much work those days, whereas carpenters, got block nose, had a bit more in their hands. Today, for example, love it or hate it, but knowing how AI works, programming it, will probably land you with better paying jobs than knowing how to process film at home. No shade thrown at film photographers, but if we're very objective here, that's just the reality we're in. However, there's one skill which I think has been fading away slowly, and those who still have that skill, it's almost like a superpower. And that skill is being able to concentrate and to focus on one task at a time. Now, I could sit down and I could work on one of my camera guides or on editing or on any other task for hours without being distracted. I don't need to pick up my phone and check Instagram. I don't even have Instagram on my phone because that's a waste of time. But I can just sit down, that's a task, get the task done, move on to another task. Now, to me, that's fairly normal, but I've learned that to many people, it's very difficult to do that because their brain just gets distracted by everything. And I think, the constant short form videos and all this nonsense like TikTok is a huge part of the problem, but that's a separate discussion. I'm not going to get into it. Concentration and focus is a skill that seems to be fading away. And what I found is that street photography is actually a fantastic tool at kind of training your focus and your concentration. Because if you go out, leave your headphones at home, and you just try to focus on getting good shots, you'll be surprised at how hard it is to maintain that focus and how quickly you get tired, because to focus, you always need to be scanning where you are and always paying attention. And it's street photography. Well, my focus has always been good, but street photography is one thing which I feel has really improved my ability to focus and to concentrate. Because once you can do that without getting distracted, everything becomes easier and you can get things done so much quicker and so much more efficiently as a byproduct of street photography. I'm going to end this video on a bit of a downer, but also, in my opinion, by far the most important point of this whole speech. And that is, everything around you that you can see right now will be gone. The people, the places, the things, everything is going to be gone one day. And street photography has really helped me to appreciate the present, to appreciate where I am, what I'm doing, what's around me, and just the world I am in now. By no means is the world perfect. It's far from perfect, as we all know these days. But there are still so many pockets of kind of beauty and good things in the world. And with street photography, it's really allowed me to appreciate that and to really focus on each moment, on even the sun hitting a bench which you would normally just walk straight past. Now I can really appreciate it in a completely different way. And yeah, for me, that has been kind of the biggest benefit and the biggest thing that I've taken away from street photography, or photography in general for that matter, and applied it to my kind of greater life, to a good outcome, so to speak. All right, well, that's all I really had to say. I know this video has been a little bit rambly, so if you're still here, thank you. And please let me know in the comments if any of this resonates with you, because I think these things actually resonate with quite a lot of people. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's just me or if others also share the same feelings and the same findings. But anyway, before I go, I just want to take a moment to sponsor myself and introduce you to my camera guides. So for every camera that I own, I make a guide for it after a few months of use. In the case of the Sony, it's been after 2 years of use because that camera has been a steep learning curve. So my camera guides are not a replacement for your user manual at all. The user manual will cover every single possible menu item the camera has, whereas I don't do that. Instead, I cover how I set up the camera for my particular use case. So for my photography, for my video work, and in my opinion, the camera is set up to be efficient and to just get the job done. So if you are not sure about how to set up your camera and you just want some inspiration, or you want to see just how I would do it, then these guides will help you, right? And they're not small guides. The A7R5 guide is around 100 pages. So a lot of work has gone into them, and ultimately you're paying for my time of learning the camera, of trying different setup modes, trying different features, and kind of finalizing it into a very neat and very kind of practical approach to using that camera. So I've got a bunch of guides for Fuji cameras, because that's what I used to use for many years. I've got guides for Leica, for Ricoh, and I've now started doing the guides for the Sonys now that I've got my head around them. The A7R5 guide is out, the A7C and A7R CR guide is coming, and there's a few more guides coming, but anyway, I've linked them all down below, so check them out, and if any of it is useful to you, then please grab one. That will help support the channel, which is no longer going to be sponsored for the most part by big corporations. Instead, I'm going to try and sponsor myself using my own products and see if that not necessarily makes more money, because the more money is not the goal here, but if that creates, I'm trying to find a good way of describing it, but if that creates something that is 100% handmade by me without an influence of some large corporate company sponsoring a video. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.